All right, let's talk about growing asparagus. This isn't just any vegetable, it's a real long-term investment that could totally change the way you think about your garden.
This quote just nails it. Most of what you plant in your garden, it's kind of like a summer fling, right? You plant your tomatoes, your lettuce, and it's over in a season. But asparagus? Asparagus is a full-on marriage.
And when we say a long time, we're not kidding. We're talking about a single planting that can keep feeding you fresh spears every single spring for 15, 20, maybe even 25 years. That's just an incredible payoff for a little upfront work.
But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Before you get too excited, you need to know this requires some serious, serious patience. This is the exact opposite of instant gratification. You're not harvesting anything this year. You're probably not harvesting much next year either. This is all about playing the long game.
Okay, so where do you even start? Well, your first big decision is a really important one, and it's going to directly affect how quickly you get to taste your first harvest. So you've got two paths you can take here. You could start from seeds. They're super cheap, but man, that adds an entire extra year to the wait. The much smarter move, especially if you're just starting out, is to go with what are called crowns. Yeah, they cost a bit more, but you're literally buying back a full year of your life. For me, that's a no-brainer.
So what in the world is an asparagus crown? Well, it's basically a one-year-old dormant plant. And honestly, the description here is spot on. It shows up looking like this tangled up blob of beige spaghetti. It might look a little weird, but this little guy is your secret weapon for getting a massive head start.
All right, here is a serious pro tip that's going to make a huge difference down the line. When you're buying your crowns, look for all male varieties. You'll see names like Jersey Knight or Jersey Giant. So why does this matter? Well, female plants spend a ton of energy making seeds and little red berries. We don't want that. The male plants, though, they put all their energy into what we want to eat: bigger, thicker spears. The good news is, most places sell these awesome male varieties these days, so they're pretty easy to find.
Okay, this next part is maybe the most important thing to get right, because this plant is going to live in the exact same spot for potentially 20 years or more. You absolutely cannot cut corners here. Prepping its forever home is everything. And that forever home has 3 rules you just can't break. Rule 1, full sun. We're talking a solid 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every single day. Rule 2, and this one is crucial, excellent drainage. Asparagus hates wet feet. Its roots will literally rot in soggy soil. So if you've got heavy clay, you're going to need to build a raised bed, no question. And rule 3, no weeds. Asparagus is a terrible competitor. It needs all the nutrients for itself. All right, now for the fun part, the planting. And this is where things get a little weird, because you don't plant asparagus like, say, a tomato plant. You don't just dig a little hole. It's more like a specific ritual. And it all starts with a trench. So let's walk through this. First, you're going to dig a trench that's about 8 to 10 inches deep. Then, line the bottom with a good 2 inches of rich compost. Next, you make these little mounds of soil inside the trench about 18 inches apart. Then you take your crown, your spaghetti octopus, and you drape its roots over that mound. Now pay close attention to this next part, because this is where a lot of people mess up. Okay, here it is, the most crucial step of the planting process. You do not fill the whole trench back up with soil. I repeat, do not fill the trench. You only cover the crowns with 2 or 3 inches of soil to get them started. If you bury them all at once, you'll suffocate them and it's game over. What you're going to do is slowly, gradually fill in the trench as those little shoots start to grow taller over the next few weeks. So, the crowns are in the ground. You've done everything right. And now comes the hardest part for any gardener. The waiting game. This is where your patience is truly put to the test. This timeline lays it all out. Year 1, your job is to look, but don't touch. You harvest nothing. 0. Zilch. It's going to be tough, but you have to let every single one of those little spears grow up into a big fern. Then, in year 2, you get a little reward, a teaser harvest. You can pick spears for just 2 weeks, and then you have to stop. But then, year 3 arrives. That's the jackpot. You finally get to harvest for a full 6 to 8 weeks. All that patience, it's about to pay off big time. So why do you have to wait? What's the big deal? It's all about these things right here, the asparagus ferns. Those skinny spears that you don't pick will shoot up and turn into these tall, feathery plants.
And these ferns are the plant's engine. They are basically giant solar panels, spinning all summer, soaking up the sun's energy and storing it down in the roots. That energy is what fuels next year's harvest. If you cut them down, you're literally pulling the plug on your power source.
Okay, you did it! You survived the 3-year wait. So now what? Let's talk about the big payoff and how surprisingly easy this plant is to take care of once it's up and running.
And you know what's funny? After all that initial work, the long-term care is ridiculously simple. Your main job, by a long shot, is just weeding. You've got to keep those weeds out. Everything else is pretty low maintenance.
So, really, your annual checklist is super short. Just keep the weeds out, give it a good deep watering if you hit a dry spell. Once the ferns turn brown and die back in the winter, cut them down. And every spring, give the bed a nice little treat by top dressing it with some fresh compost. That's it. That's the whole list.
Which brings us to the big question, right? After all that planning, all that digging, all that waiting, was it really worth it? I mean, you could just go buy asparagus at the store.
And I think this quote really gets to the heart of why we do this. It's not really about just having food for dinner tonight. Planting asparagus is something more. It's an investment. It's an act of faith, a promise you make to your future self that all this work today is going to result in something amazing, a delicious, fresh, and basically free harvest that you can enjoy for years and years to come.